So if we hit ls here, you'll see that we're in our own directory for Odoo Dev, and this is where we're going to create a directory for our Odoo installations for development purposes. Now, before we take this next step, let me emphasize this is an Odoo installation for development purposes. It's not an installation for production. An installation for production should run under a system user account. It should be protected with SSH. There's other precautions. This is a installation strictly for development purposes, so we're intentionally installing it under our Odoo Dev folder and with the Odoo Dev permissions so that we can easily open, modify these files, and customize our Odoo installation. The next step would be in a typical development pipeline. Once you've tested everything out, then you would move your module, once it's tested, from your development server over to your production server. And in that production server, that's in where you would have an Odoo user that's set up with far more security, that would run under SSH and would have likely a system user account. But with that said, let's continue with creating a directory here within our Odoo Dev user to hold our Odoo source code. So in Ubuntu, there's a simple command to create a directory, and it's mkdir. So it should be pretty easy to remember for make directory. And we can just use Odoo for our make directory. So now if I type ls again, remember ls is for list, you'll see that we have right here a new directory that's been added for Odoo. Now, we want to install inside this directory, so to change between directories, we can use a command called cd for change directory. So cd space Odoo and then enter will take us into the Odoo directory, and we can see we're in that Odoo directory because it shows us this in our command prompt. If I need to get back out, another useful command in Ubuntu to know is you can do cd space double periods, and that will take us back out of that directory. So now if I ls, you'll see I'm back at our root directory for our user, our home directory for our user. And if I type cd Odoo, I'm in our Odoo directory. Now if I ls in here, notice how we get nothing because we have not created anything in this directory. It's just an empty directory. But that's not going to be an empty directory for long because we're now going to pull down the Odoo source code. And so this is also available in your documentation. I'm going to go ahead and just copy it and paste it in here. It's something you could type out. The command git is from what we just installed up there a little while ago when we set up git and installed it. And we're saying that we want to clone an installation that's available here at this HTTPS address. You'll notice it goes right here to Odoo. And we have a switch here. Whenever you see these two dashes, a lot of times those are called switches inside of Ubuntu. But we're basically telling Git that we only want to go a depth of 1, meaning that we don't need all the previous source code or the older versions of the source code. We just need the first highest level, the latest releases of each file. And you'll notice this -- branch that wrapped around, and I think I can make this bigger so we can not have to have this wrap around for us. And it might be too late if I remember. Yeah, that's kind of how Ubuntu is. It's too late. It's going to keep wrapping it until the next time it writes it out. But you'll notice it says branch 9.0. So this tells us that we're working with Odoo 9 and that we want just the single branch. And the period just says we want it in this directory. Now, I just caught myself because before we put it in this branch, in this directory, I actually really want to make another directory because we might have multiple versions of Odoo. We might have a version of Odoo 8 that we still need to have and do some development work on. We might have a version 9 that's a release version. We might have an enterprise version. We might have a master branch that we want to look at. So let's go ahead and make another directory called Odoo 9. And so now if I list out using ls for our command, I can see our Odoo 9 directory. And so let's go into the Odoo 9 directory so that we have a directory just for Odoo 9. And I'm going to paste our command again and hit enter. And now when I hit enter, you'll see that it says cloning into, and it's really quickly downloading and pulling down the objects that is basically the entire Odoo community source code. And this includes all of the applications from sales, purchasing, everything that's all the core applications. So even though you only install certain Odoo applications, when you download the source code, you get pretty much everything that you're going to need in terms of all the major applications. Now, there are some applications that are paid applications that you can get off the App Store. Those will not be included in this download. And also will not be included in this download is the Odoo Enterprise source code. In order to get the Odoo Enterprise source code, you have to have a license. So that's a little bit different in Odoo 9. It was in Odoo 8. In Odoo 8, everything was all open source and free open source. This right here is the full Odoo Community Edition source, but it's not including any of the enterprise source. Now, from a developer perspective, you can learn everything you need to know about developing in Odoo and building Odoo applications using the Odoo Community Edition. So there's no reason to fret if you don't have the Odoo Enterprise license. Everything that we learn here in this course will be applicable as well to the enterprise. So as you can see, we're already at 94%. They have a pretty fast download from GitHub now. So it's going to be all downloaded here in just a little bit. And then we'll be able to test our installation immediately and see if we can actually get to our new Odoo server. And just like that, it is done. If I do an ls now, you'll see we have all these files in here ready to go. And so we can immediately test our Odoo installation by doing a period and a /. They're right next to each other to the left of the shift key, and doing an odoo.py and hit enter. And you'll notice that right away we can see OpenERP version 9.0C. We see that it's got add-ons paths already configured, and it's got some kind of database thing here. But the thing that most probably important to notice is right out here, you notice how it says running on 0.0.08069. Well, this is the same as localhost, so we can go and bring up our browser and type in localhost 8069 and hit enter. And just like that, notice we got Odoo. We got a place for our database name and our language English. And so let's go ahead and just under database name, we'll call this test. We can put in tests for our password. We're really just trying to test this out. And let's go ahead and load some demonstration data. And we're going to go ahead and create our database. And we want to do this just to make sure we have all the permissions and that there's nothing that's broken with our installation. So if I click back on terminal, we can watch as the views get created. All these green infos are good. It means that it's able to do all these views, and basically it's creating the database to hold our Odoo application. So just like that, we have just in these few short lectures gone from having nothing installed to installing the VMware player, getting an Odoo installation installed, all the dependencies installed. That was a little messy in the video, but by doing that, hopefully you guys can work through any problems you have with missing dependencies. And you'll see that already we have a database, and we're up here ready to install our first app. Usually I like to install one just to make sure by clicking install on the sales management app. And so we're basically wrapping up what I would call the prerequisite parts of this video course, in that you've got your Ubuntu server set up, you've got your Odoo server installed, and we have successfully created a test database so that we know that we have all the permissions and everything working the way it needs to be, so that you can begin developing in Odoo 9 and become an Odoo developer. So we'll finish this video up here. You'll want to do the same on your side. Make sure you've got a working Odoo installation, because starting in the next video lecture is when we start actually customizing Odoo. Thanks for watching.